Hello, I'm Brad Phillips and welcome to Puppy Steps Training. We're very excited for you to be bringing home your new puppy. We've created this video so that we can demonstrate all of the training your puppy has received. We also want to go over how to troubleshoot it and how to make sure that you continue with the training so that you can have a lifetime of success with your puppy. Before we get into that portion of the video, we need to cover some very important parts of the training program. And that's really just to cover what your expectations are and to cover our 3 secrets to success, if you will. So first, our expectations. We have very high expectations for your puppy, and you should too. But remember, they are still a puppy, which means they are going to make mistakes. You are not getting a perfect dog. I hope that wasn't your expectation, but if it was, I would suggest that maybe you run to Walmart and get a stuffed animal, because there is no such thing as a perfect dog. They are going to make mistakes, and it's important for us to teach them what our expected behaviors are. We got to teach them that you have high expectations, that you are going to be their new leader, because right now they see myself and our trainers as leaders. And so we want the same relationship to develop with you. And in order to do that, you have to be consistent, you have to follow through, and you have to manage your dog. So, first one, consistency. When we talk about consistency, that's both consistently rewarding and correcting. You have to have both. It's also important that your whole family is consistent across the board with what they expect from your puppy, and that we expect our puppies to follow rules. Dogs need structure. They need a pack leader, and so that's where you're going to come in. So it's important to use the same words across the board. So the first one, we have our marker, which is okay. So okay means that your dog, they've done something correctly and that they're finished, and some type of reward is going to follow. So if I asked my dog to hold a down stay, I backed up, and then I would say, okay, good dog. And that means they did it correctly and they're released and they can come and get a treat from me, or they get praised or something like that. They get rewarded is what's important. Right now, your dog's a puppy, and so most likely they are very food motivated. That is a currency that they want to work for, and so we're going to use that to our advantage. And I would suggest using that positive reinforcement at least through the first year of your dog's life. As they gain fluency and they're really, really good and quick with all these commands, then you can definitely start to wean off this food reward. But as your puppy grows and matures and starts to develop a relationship with you, it's important that I would use food and I would earn their trust. And once again, I want our relationship to be built out of respect. And so if you're giving them a currency that they enjoy, you're going to build that respect much faster. But there are going to be times where you don't have food on you. And so it's important to still reward your dog. In these cases, I use praise and affection very heavily. Also, if I'm outside and we're playing with a toy, I will use that toy as a reward. You can use tennis balls or bumpers or anything like that. If your dog really enjoys playing fetch, use that toy as a reward. Go out, ask him to do some basic obedience, and then throw the toy. But always follow up with some type of reward. Now, we also use the word good. Good is like a keep going, you're almost there type of a command. I'll say good when they're holding a stay. I can walk up, tell them, good dog, good boy. And that's not releasing them, but I'm going to pet them, maybe give them a treat, and it's just more of a reassurance. That's also like, especially in a recall command, I'll start to say good as soon as they start to come towards me, because it's like, yes, you're doing the right thing, you're almost done. And then as soon as they get to me, I follow that up with, okay, good dog. So use those. Now, also, I do believe that there's a balance to all things. So just as I'm going to consistently reward, I'm going to consistently correct. So when I correct a dog, I don't believe that you need to physically dominate your dog. I want our relationship, once again, to be built out of respect. And so my correction a lot of times is simple. If I'm working with a puppy and they break, I'll just simply tell them no, and then I'll have them do that behavior again. So just as important as the actual verbal correction is that reinforcement by having them do the correct behavior. So that's all it needs to be, is a simple no. If your dog does do something a little bit more serious, like maybe they start to have an accident, that's when I do get really firm. And so once again, I'm not going to physically dominate my dog. Instead, if they start to have an accident, I might clap, I might stomp, and I'll say, no, 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 no. And I just get a lot more a lot more firm in that, teaching them like, no, no, please don't do that. Let's hurry and go outside. But once again, I'm going to follow through. So if my dog starts to have an accident and I correct him that way, I'm going to quickly grab them. I'm going to take them outside, give them the opportunity to finish going to the bathroom outside, and then I'm going to bury that frustration deep down, and I'm going to reward that puppy for doing that correct behavior. So that way we create a black and white experience. It's, no, don't do that here. Yes, good job. This is where I want you to do it. That's the correct behavior. We do have one type of physical correction, and that's just a simple leash correction. I'm not trying to yank them around because at this stage, one, I don't want to apply a lot of pressure. I want to first teach a behavior before I implement that pressure. So this leash correction is more to regain their attention to then change their behavior, which the nice thing about leash pressure is then it easily transforms into using a prong collar or using other forms of pressure to teach your dog higher levels of obedience. But once again, first, before I start implementing too much pressure, I want to make sure that they understand what my expectations are. So remember, this is a balanced dog training program, which means you have to have both. You need that positive reinforcement so you can teach, but you have to have that correction so you can establish what your expectations are. So then our second point is that follow through. It directly correlates to being consistent. If you correct your dog and they ignore you, you have to follow through. You can't just say no and then let your dog get away with performing an incorrect behavior. So one of these that I see all the time is a recall command. So if I call my dog to come and they ignore me, I am going to get my dog. Now I'm going to calmly go and get them. I'm never going to chase after my dog. The other thing is when my dog does finally come, I'm not going to reprimand them. I want to be calm, but I want to teach them what the expected behavior is. So I will only say a command once. I expect them to follow through. If they don't, I follow up with a correction. So I'd say no, and then I'm going to enforce the behavior. So in the situation, if I called my dog to come and they ignored me, I'm going to go and get them. The tricky thing, or not the tricky thing, but the important thing is, say I did call them to come and they failed and I got 90% of the way there, and then my dog was like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And came running over to me. I will reward that behavior because I don't want to reprimand my dog for coming to me. I'm not going to get frustrated and get mad at my dog for coming to me because there's a chance that they were just so hyper-focused on whatever was going on that they didn't register that you called them. Now, there are times where a dog might blatantly push the buttons. So another good example is jumping on a couch. So we have the command off. If one of my puppies came and hopped on this couch and I said, off, and they looked at me like, well, what are you going to do about it? At that point, I mark that behavior, I say no, and I go over and remove that puppy. So I am teaching them that that is not acceptable, this is what is acceptable. So you have to follow through, because if you repeat yourself, if you just sit there and you're like, no, Fluffy, off, Fluffy, Fluffy, get off, your dog's not registering that as a correction. They just think you're barking just like they bark. So instead, the moment that they choose not to obey, I mark that behavior with that correction, and then I reinforce. It's important to remember that what you reinforce will get replicated. So reinforce good behaviors. If your dog is in control, they're sitting next to you just hanging out, I'll pet them, I'll praise them. That's what I want. I want to reinforce that behavior. So catch them doing good things. But same thing, if your dog starts to pull, immediately correct that behavior. Teach them what your expected behavior is. So be consistent, follow through, and manage your dog. So management is going to be one of the most important things you do, especially over this transition period. So that breaks down to just maintaining control. If you have control of your dog, they're not allowed to create bad habits because they're not allowed to get away with doing an incorrect behavior. So there's a couple tools that I always recommend using. So first is the crate. The crate is your biggest asset, because as you bring a puppy home, you need to maintain 100% supervision. You need to know where your puppy is at all times, what they are doing at that moment. And so there's going to be times where you cannot do that. You need to focus on your kids, or you need to focus on making dinner, or you need to go take a shower. Like in those situations, put your puppy in the crate. That way they're under control because they're contained. They're not allowed to go and sneak around the corner and have an accident or go and chew something up. Maintain that control. The other thing, baby gates. If you don't want them in a super room, or in a specific room, block it off. Close doors. Don't allow access. Remember that freedom is earned. It is not a right in your home. As you bring your puppy home, they earn that freedom. So the other thing is keep a leash attached, especially early on. Let them drag a leash around. That way you have a quick way to correct them, a quick way to get them outside if you need to. But just understand that it has to be supervised. Like you can't just let your dog off in a room, especially if they have a leash attached, because you don't want them getting tangled around something. Whereas if I'm supervising them, giving them that strict supervision, I'm going to know what they're getting into or where they're at. And so I can immediately correct a behavior, I can immediately reward a behavior. We will touch on management throughout this video because it is so intertwined with everything we do. So I hope you enjoy. Once again, if you're seeing this video, that means your puppy is finished and they've reached our standards, and I think you're going to have great success. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call. We want to make sure that this transition is as seamless as possible. So thanks again, we appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed your experience with Puppy Steps Training.
Hello, I'm Skylar, the head trainer here at Puppy Steps Training, and I'm very excited to show you everything that Sace has learned with us. So jumping right into the manners, the first one we are going to talk about are her doorways. So Sace is expected to wait at every closed door. I don't care who goes through first. She does not need to sit. I don't need to tell her wait, stay. It is an automatic behavior. I expect her to just pause, wait for my okay, and we can go through the door. This manner is especially important for when we're going through doors together and when she is coming out of her crate. If she tries to break through her crate door, I will just simply tell her no, close the crate door, try again. If we are going through a door together and if she tries to break, either I have that leash to tell her no, I can block her with the side of my foot, I can close the door, we try again. If for some reason she sneaks and bolts out, it is really, really important for you to tell her no, to go get her, and to try that again. She cannot learn if she's sneaky enough she can get away with something. I'm gonna let her out. Okay, good, Sace. He's a good girl. He's a very good girl. Okay, we are going to go over her sit to greet next. Sace. There's her sit to greet. Good girl. She does not have to sit every single time you call her over or every time that you want to pet her. But I really want her to check in with me in this manner quite often throughout the day. Yes, that's a very good girl. Especially after you come home. You haven't seen her in a while. You really want to work, and I'll just ask random times throughout the day to keep that manner really fresh. This is something that you're going to work on with Sace the first couple of days that you bring her home, and anyone who interacts regularly with her is going to practice this too. You're going to have a leash, a couple treats. You'll say her name, Sace. Walk backwards so she follows you. Stop walking. When she sits, okay. Good girl. Sace. Okay. Good girl. Okay. Whenever someone wants to meet Sace, she is going to do a sit to greet for you, and then that person can come and greet her. When that person leaves, I would have her do a sit to greet for you again and reward her. So it's going to be owner attention, stranger, owner attention sandwich. Good girl. Yes, it's a very good girl. Okay, we're going to go over feeding manners next. Okay, so this is as much as I need to do with Sace for her to sit for her food. If she seems hesitant, you can take a step in, do a bigger scoop, or ask her to sit, but this should be the automatic behavior. I'm going to take a couple steps back, drop the food bowl on the ground. If she broke, I would tell her no, pick it up, try again. Okay. Good girl. She's doing amazing with resource guarding. Good girl. I can stick my hand in her food bowl. I can move it around. But I am also spending a lot of time building our relationship and giving her positive things like more treats into her food bowl. Good girl. We've also spent time feeding her from our hands. Everyone in the family should take turns feeding Sace to build that relationship. As soon as Sace walks away from her food, sorry, I gotta take this from you, babe. As soon as she walks away, she is all done eating. You're gonna pick it back up. She does not get fed until her next meal. She will be fine. Good girl. Right, handling is next. Sace has spent a lot of time being handled in a variety of different ways. Continue handling her like they would at the vet and at the groomer. So we've spent a lot of time examining ears. Good. Examining teeth. Good girl, good girl. Picking her up, handling paws. Good, Sace, good girl. Pulling a tail. Good girl. I just want to make sure that she is comfortable whenever she is being handled or held. If she's ever uncomfortable, I'll readjust her, I'll pause, I'll give her a treat, I'll help her calm down, but I'm not going to put her down. I don't want her learning if she throws a temper tantrum, she's going to be free. I want her to be very, very comfortable. So if I was clipping her nails and she started squirming, I would stop clipping nails, hold her like this till she was calm, reward her for me touching her paw, and slowly build our way back up. Good girl. So this next manner is something that we've really had to build up with Sace, which is gently. So sometimes Sace gets so excited to train and work with us that she has a little bit of a piranha jaw. So if she ever gets too excited, you're gonna take that treat away. You're gonna remind her gently and lower it back down. But this time I'm going to have the treat enclosed within my fingers. And she does not get the treat until the teeth go away. Okay, good girl, good girl. I can also give her a treat like this, gently, and she's going to be very nice. Like I said, we spent a lot of time working on this. She is very conscientious about not biting my fingers, but if she gets too excited, remember that is what you're going to do. This manner also applies to her rearing up. So if I'm ever giving her a treat, I need all four paws on the ground. So if I lower like this and she jumps up, I'm going to say no gently, and I'm going to reset my body position, and we would just try again. No. Gently. No. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, so that is just sending a very clear message that if you are going to rear up, my hand is going to go away. Okay. Off is a really, really big one. So if Sace was to jump up on me, I'm going to very firmly say off as I'm bringing my knee up. I am not going to cause her harm. I'm not going to punch her across the room. I am sending a very clear message of that is not the way I want you to interact with me. If you want my attention, you're going to sit to get it, like our sit to greet, not jump up. So it's a very quick off. If she sneaks from behind, I will say off. If I am down here, I'm gonna fall, and she jumps up, I'm gonna say off as I use my forearm, just kind of scoot her chest away. Good girl. Then when she sits, offers me a nice behavior, I'm going to mark that. Good girl. Good girl. When she jumps up on something she is not supposed to, I will also use off. If she is far away, I'll accompany that with a clap. So off, just to really help drive my point home. I am not going to repeat myself. So if Sace heard my off and she looked at me like, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to tell her no, calmly walk over and remove her. If I said off, she got off the couch, she came to me, sat, I am going to mark that. I'm going to tell her, very good girl, because she fixed her mistake. Good girl. Yeah, you're done playing with that? Drop it. Good girl, good girl. Okay. So whenever we're working on drop-its with Sace, 90% of the time I am just playing with her. I want to make this a really, really rewarding experience, very fun to work on this command with me. Sace, drop it. Okay, good girl. I don't think the camera saw you here. Drop it. Okay, good girl. I'm only going to ask for it once. I am not going to say drop it, drop it, drop it, Sace, drop it. Instead, after I issue it one time, and if she does not comply, I'm going to tell her no, and I will head towards her to start to take it away. No, you did good. You did good. Yes, very good girl. Very good girl. Drop it. Okay, good girl. So you notice I am not giving her a treat. The toy is the reward in this situation. So me physically taking it away, this is not an effective method of taking something away from Sace. Instead, I'm going to hold the toy on either side, and I'm going to work my way in, and she will release. I can also curl her lips around her canines and have her open her jaw. Brad is really good at pressing down on the tongue, having a little eject button there. Okay, go get it. Please, please, please practice this with very fun toys. Make it a very, very fun game. If you only use drop it in a mean tone with things she's not allowed to have back, you will see this manner deplete very quickly. On that note, if you catch her chewing on something that she is not supposed to, you are going to use drop it, and then you are going to replace it with something of a similar consistency. So if I caught her chewing on one of my socks, I'm going to ask for a drop it or a no, really whatever comes out of my mouth first, and then I'm going to give her something appropriate for her to chew on. So I'll give her something soft like this toy. If she was chewing on a table leg, I'm going to say drop it and then give her a bully stick in return. Good girl. So let's see. We're going to look at Sace's teeth. Oh, good. So she is teething quite a bit. She has a good girl. She has a lot of teeth left to lose still. So she is going to be chewing very, very heavily. First of all, a tired dog is a far less destructive dog. Second of all, we're going to give Sace something to do, or she will go find something to do. Good girl. Huh. Even though she is teething a lot, she's still not allowed to mouth on me. She's not allowed to mouth on anything that's mine. So my hair, my clothes, my skin. As soon as she does that, as soon as we feel teeth, we are going to correct her. We're going to tell her no by taking away that thing. So this is not an effective way to tell her to stop mouthing on my hand. An effective way, taking that hand away, and I'll even cover her muzzle, tell her no. Please do not try to jam your dog's mouth shut. It is just a very clear, hey, I do not want you doing that. I'll wait a second. Are you going to mouth on me again? No? All right, we can go back to playing. Good girl. If she repeats the offense, then I'm not going to interact with her for 30 seconds. I'm telling her that if you're not going to listen to my rules, you do not get to hang out with me. When I do come back, I'm going to redirect that mouthing into something appropriate. So if I just want her to sit by me, but she keeps mouthing, maybe I'm going to give her something to chew on so she does not come after my clothes. Okay. If Sace is ever going to be around little children, having a toy, having that outlet for Sace is going to be very, very important. So instead of grabbing onto a child's pant leg, she can grab onto that toy. If the play ever becomes too scary, that child can throw the toy in the opposite direction and walk away to safety. Good girl. Okay, I believe those are all of our manners, and we are going to go on to her commands. All right, commands. Our first command is place. So place can be done with any object with defined parameters. The easiest one for Sace to understand is this bed. It is elevated, very clear what is on and what is off. However, we have been doing place with boulders, with logs, with blankets, with bats. You may have to lure her the first time you're doing place with a new object, but she will quickly understand. As soon as all 4 paws go on, I mark that with a good girl, and I release with an okay. Sace, place. Good. So I don't care what she is doing on place. I just need all 4 paws to stay there at all times. Okay, good girl. The place command is fantastic. It gives Sace something to do. It helps her settle down. It helps with separation anxiety as well. Sace, place. If you want her out of the way, this is a great command for that. If you're bringing groceries in and out, Sace can go to her place. If you really want to focus on something, put Sace in place. Right now, Sachi's doing about 2 minutes. That can easily be built up to an hour or 2 as long as you are consistent and build that up bit by bit, which is why we really utilize that good, the intermediary marker. Good girl. Especially if there are a lot of heavy distractions. If she stays in place after a very heavy distraction takes place, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to tell her, very, very good girl. Okay. Sace, great. Good. So the same rules apply for crate. I will tell her good girl for when she goes in, and I will save my okay for when she's allowed to come back out. Crate. Good. The full command is simply tapping on top while saying crate. However, Sace has gone a little bit beyond that standard, and we've been working on some distance. When you first bring her home, continue with the tapping on top and slowly build that distance back up. Okay. Good girl. Crate. Okay? Good girl. Unless I'm dropping treats as a distraction, I do not give her treats for coming off of place or out of the crate. Okay, we have 3 hand gestures. We have sit, so my palms are facing up, little scoop. Really, by now, it barely moves. Then I have my down, so my palm is flat. Good girl, and I have a stay out like a stop sign. So sit, down, stay. Sace is easily doing 20-second sit and down stays. Once again, if you are consistent and build that up bit by bit, that will easily extend to a minute, couple minutes. Service dogs do 45-minute down stays. Okay, good girl. Now, while we are working on all of these commands, if she breaks once or twice, that's totally fine. It is actually, I expect Sace to break while I am working with her because I am constantly adding more distractions and I'm pushing her to be better. She is learning through her mistakes. So once or twice, that's fine. We're learning, we're growing. However, if she breaks 3 times in a row, it's too hard. I'm not going to ask something of her if I know she is going to fail. Instead, I'm going to break it down so I can build her up and so she can succeed. I'm always going to end on a success. So say I was working on downstays with Sace and she broke a 27-second downstay for the 3rd time. I'm not going to try for that same amount of time on the 4th. Instead, I'm going to come right up close to her and I'm going to reward her for doing a down. Okay, good girl. Stay. Okay, you stayed for half a second. What a good girl. From there, I can build her back up to what we were doing before, or we can end on that success. Oh, that's a very good girl. I don't want her to get frustrated. I don't want to get frustrated myself. We want to keep it very, very happy and positive. Okay, helping out with the sits and the downs. So I'm never, ever going to tell Sace, sit, 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 Sace, sit. It is sit 1 time. If I tell her sit and she looks at me and tries to walk away, then I will say no, bring her back and ask for that sit again. But if she's just standing there staring at me, having no idea what I am talking about, I'm not going to repeat myself. Instead, I'm going to change my body language so she can succeed. Hi. So if this does not work, oh, good job. I'm going to take a step into her. I'm going to bend at the waist, and I'm going to make more exaggerated of a scoop. So with down, if this did not elicit a down, yeah, I'm going to change my body language. Oh, good girl. Okay, slight bend in the waist. Maybe take away that added distraction, and I will get slowly closer and closer, good girl, to the ground until she complies with that down. If she is struggling, I'll reward her after every sit, down, stay. But as she's doing well, she's acclimating into your home, that is going to become a chain command, and it will be sit, down, stay, reward at the very, very end. Hi. Sace is doing phenomenal with her commands, and she can easily build far beyond what we have taught her. So our last command is leave it. So when I say leave it to something, that something is forever off limits. So I do not do leave it with permanent objects in the house, so with plants or with baseboards. Instead, that is a no and a management situation. Instead, I save leave it's for when I drop something. You have beautiful focus. Drop something on the ground, like shattered glass, chocolate, something, anything that I really don't want Sace to get her little nose into, I'm gonna tell her to leave it alone. While you're on hikes, walks outside, I'm gonna do leave it with cow pies, dead things in the road, really gross things I don't want her getting into. Okay, do you see this? Leave it. Good girl. I'm once again going to use that good marker while that is in her reach, and I'm rewarding her for continuing to leave that thing alone. Good girl, good Sace, good. Good. Then when I pick it back up, it's gone. Okay, good girl. If she tried to break, I'm going to tell her no, leave it. I'll block her with my foot. I'll pop with the leash. Do not let her get that leave it object. Good girl. Okay, those are all of our commands. We're going to go on to our leash work. Sace has several different kinds of walks. First off is her off-leash walk. She can run, she can sniff, she can be happy, be a wild and free dog, under the stipulation that Sace is going to check in with me and come when I call. So Sace has a fantastic recall with us. That needs to transfer over to you guys. You're going to do that with the long lead. So this is our shortest long lead. It's only about 10-15 feet long. My personal one was 40 feet long, and that is how my dogs explore their neighborhood. So most of your walks with Sace are actually going to be on a long lead. I will ask for spurts of heel. Maybe we get somewhere she can be off leash, I'll let her off. But really, we are going to utilize this long lead as much as we can. So for casual strolls, long lead. On the long lead, she can sniff, she can go in front of me, she can go behind, she can check things out. And I can also work on the recall because I have a way of following through. Sace, come. Okay, good girl. That is her recall. I'm going to say her name first. I want to make sure I have her attention, and then I'm going to issue that come. Notice it is very good girl, very different from my normal speaking cadence. I really want to make sure, good girl, okay, that I know that she's listening to me and she knows exactly what I am asking her to do. Sace, come. Okay, good girl, good girl. All right, so if she does not listen to that, I am going, here you're all tripped up, I am going to tell her no as I am reeling her in. I am going to use slight leash pressure to tell her that's not what I want. What I want is for you to come to me. So I'm going to mark her incorrect behavior with a no as I am putting that little bit of pressure on the leash. As soon as she puts that slack back, as soon as she starts to follow me, I'm going to mark that with a yes, good girl, good job. When she comes all the way to me, okay. So we're going to pretend no. Good girl, good girl. Okay. Very, very slight pressure right there. The follow through is vitally important when you're working on the recall. So with the recall, 9 times out of 10, when I call Sace, she gets a treat and then she gets to go back to playing. It is the 1 time out of 10 that the fun ends. We leave the park, we go inside. If you only call her for when the fun ends, or if she's in trouble, she's not going to want to come to you. Practice, 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 way more than you actually need to use this command. Once she is doing fantastic with you guys on the long lead, you can try off leash. If she does not listen to your come on the off leash, you do not have this long lead to reel her in. Instead, you have your voice and your body language. So If she does not comply, once again, you're going to tell her no, but instead of reeling her in, you're going to walk towards her. You're not going to run, but in a very firm voice, you're going to tell her no and start walking towards her. If she sees me coming, she will fix her mistake. When she does fix her mistake, I will stop walking so she comes all the way to me. I reward her, yes, good girl, good girl. I am never, ever going to punish her for her coming to me. Even if I had to track her around the field for 5 minutes and she came the last 10 feet, I'm going to tell her, yes, very, very good girl. I may do some of this. So she has to, good girl, follow me a little bit more, good girl. But I'm going to be very, very happy to see her. I'll put the long lead on her since I had to chase her across the field, but I'm not going to punish her. Even if I have to go all the way to go get her, I will just simply tell her, no, clip that long lead on. We practice. She has lost her off-leash privileges. Okay? One person will tell Sace come one time. That person who said it is the one that is going to follow through. The follow through is important with all of our commands and manners, but this is the most critical time to follow through. If you cannot follow through, if you know she's not going to listen, don't say the come command. Don't destroy the integrity of that command. Just sigh and go get your dog. Okay. You're very good. You're a very good girl, huh? Okay. Bless you. We have the heel. Excuse me. So Sace, when we go on our walks, we'll switch between an off-leash, a long lead, and a heel. Sace. Whenever there are really big distractions, whenever there are a lot of people in the area, whenever we go inside a store, I am going to ask Sace for a heel. So whenever we're in a heel, she is expected to stay on my left side, hold a very loose leash, and sit whenever I stop walking. So this is my short leash. It's 4 feet long. That's still a little bit too long for me, and I am going to wrap that leash up, and I'm only going to give her about like a foot or so of space. Heel. I'm going to use this leash to direct her about. So if I have to turn, slight pressure there, good girl. If I have to turn into her, I'm going to pull that leash up so I don't smack into her. I don't want to hit her head, good girl. And when I stop, I'll pull that leash a little bit up. Good girl. Okay. The first time you work on heel with Sace, it is completely fine to go in your house, in the backyard, in front of your sidewalk. Do not throw her into heavy distractions. Always have a treat pouch, regardless of the walk that you're going on. You're always going to have a treat pouch. I have 3 dogs of my own, the oldest of which is almost 11, and I still have a treat pouch with me wherever I go. You never know what you're going to run into. If you have to do engagement, leave it, or just reward her for being a very, very good girl. She's going to be dependent on treats, especially for the heel. Sace. So the first couple times, you're going to be very heavy with the treats. Good girl. Because this requires a lot of focus from her. And I want her to know that she's doing a very, very good job. Heel. Good girl. When she's doing well with this, you can lessen the amount of treats. But I would still give her a treat every like 30 seconds to a minute, even when she's really well established, especially in this puppy stage. Good girl. So regardless of the length of the leash, it is never long enough for a dog. They will find the end of the leash. It is really important that Sace is not allowed to pull regardless of the length of the leash. If she wants to pull on the long lead, I will say no, pop, pop. If we are in a heel, I'm going to do a couple different things. So if Sace just gets distracted, if there's a grasshopper, a butterfly, another dog passing, and she kind of wanders, then I'm just going to say, hey, and get her attention back that way. I'll say her name, maybe wave a treat just to get her attention back. However, if she is going to pull, I am going to pop up and tell her no. So if she started pulling forward, no, pop, pop. Good girl. She puts the slack back in the leash. I'll tell her very good girl. I will do this 2 times in a row. If she pulls the 3rd time, it's not an effective way of telling her I don't want you to pull. So I need to change what I am doing. I am going to do that by I'll just stop walking completely. So here, come here. So we'll pretend that she's pulling and I'll say no, pop, pop. She paused for a second. She kept pulling, no, pop, pop. She still pulled, then I would go, no. And we're gonna stop walking till she's seated, she's focused, she's looking at me. You don't get to go forward until you're checking in with me and walking and matching my pace. So I got her attention back, very good girl. We continue walking forward, and if she started to pull after that, then I'm immediately gonna say nope, and I'm gonna walk the opposite direction at a very fast pace. If you're gonna pull to get somewhere, I will walk the opposite direction. Good girl. Once she's back under control and listening to me, then I will turn around. If she wants to pull, nope. As you can tell, Sace, yes, is a very, very good heel dog, but that is because I am constantly communicating to her the good things and the bad. You need to give her that constant feedback. Yes, very good girl. Yeah. Right. The last leash work that we're going to talk about is engagement. So engagement is getting my dog's attention away from whatever is triggering them and onto me. Sace is not a very reactive dog. However, when dogs are going through this transition, they're going to be stressed out and they are going to react. So you are going to have to do this engagement exercise sometime in the next couple days, maybe even the next couple weeks. So like the initial leash pulling, if Sace, we're on a walk, Sace barks at something, my first line is go, hey, or no, or Sace, or watch me. So it's just a very quick like, hey, look at me, or no, we're fine, to get her attention back to me. If that does not work, if she is completely in the red zone, then I obviously need to switch it up. But if it's something very minor, it's just a really quick like, hey, we don't do that, look at me, you're fine, what a good girl. Okay, if that did not work, then my next line of defense is to get distance. So if there is a jogger running at us and Sace starts barking, she starts cowering, I'm going to get distance, whether that's going off to the side, crossing the road, getting distance any way I can. So it will be very quick. Hey, let's go. Good girl, getting distance. Okay, my next line of defense, so we'll say the jogger's coming that way. I am going to put my back to that trigger. So this shows I do not find that this is a threat, so neither should you. This also serves as a way to block that trigger from Sace's sight. If she wants to pop and look side to side, I'm gonna pop her leash and tell her no. So all of these levels of engagement is where I can utilize the watch me command. So watch me means make eye contact with me. I do not need deep prolonged eye contact, I just need that little flicker. Watch me, okay, good girl. Watch me. Okay, need a little prompt there. Treats are very distracting. Sace, watch me. Okay, good girl, good girl. Okay, my next line of defense is to crouch down. This is when I will get in her face as a way to more fully block her off. This shows, hey, I am the only thing you need to focus on. I am very rewarding. I am very, very calm. Good girl. While I'm engaging with my dog, I do not require a lot of work from her. I want maybe, watch me. Oh, good girl. You looked at me while I said your name. You did the bravest to watch me. Okay, good girl. Maybe you want to do a sit. All right, good girl. The entire time I am working on engagement, I am calm. If you are putting unnecessary tension in the leash by gripping that so tightly, you're going to transfer that anxiety from the leash into her. I do not need to be stressed. If you're stressed, she will be stressed. You're going to be very, very calm while you are engaging with her. So I have her under control and I will slowly reverse my steps. So if she's doing well here, then I'll stand back up. Maybe we can face that distraction together and we can watch the world go by. She is welcome to observe as long as she does not react poorly to the trigger. If she's doing well here, watching the art of doing nothing, watching the world go by, maybe I'll get a little bit closer and she can interact with that thing that was initially so scary. Okay, that is our engagement. Okay, we have crate training and house training next. So crate training, she's been sleeping through the night without needing a potty break. She's been going to bed at 10, getting up at 6. You can adjust that to fit your schedule, but please do so slowly. Know that she will have to get up and use the bathroom around 5:45, 6 a.m. Okay, on that note, she has been eating at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. It's completely fine to move that 6 a.m. to fit your guys' schedule, but please do not feed her later than 6. The reason we do this is since she goes to bed at 10, we want to give her the full 4 hours to clear everything out of her system. So when 10 o'clock rolls around, you're going to let her outside, make sure she clears everything out, put her in the crate for the night. The first night you have her, it would probably be a good idea to set an alarm for 1 a.m. and let her out. When dogs go through this transition, they get stressed. When dogs are stressed, they go to the bathroom more. Okay? After that night, you should be good to go. She has been doing fantastic with her crate training. During the day, she can be in the crate for up to 4 hours at a time before needing a break. Please make this time in the crate variable. So what we do here at Puppy Steps, she goes on a big long walk, she gets a very tiny drink of water, and then she goes in the crate for about 4 hours. She has other times that she is in the crate, but before we put her in the crate again, she has lots of training, exercise, downtime, nap time. So she has a 4-hour block, 2.5, 20 minutes. Continue making that time in the crate variable. It is completely fine to put her in the crate several times throughout the day, ranging from 2 minutes to 4 hours. Routines are fantastic. Do not always put her in the crate at the exact same time. Do not always let her out at the exact same time. Sace will learn to tell time and will become very cranky if you always let her out at 3 and it is 3:15. Instead, it is far better to fluctuate and change that time that you let her out. When I come home, I never let my dogs out of the crate immediately. I wait until they are calm and then I release them. Okay, if Sace is making noise in the crate, here's what you're going to do. So odds are when you put her in the crate for the very first time, she may be a little upset. She's with her new family. She's having a really good time and then the fun ends. It is really, really important that you ignore those initial whines. Give her 5 minutes. She's going to settle down when she knows that no one will come and let her out. The worst thing you could do when Sace is whining and making noise in the crate is let her out. Once again, that is the worst thing you could do if Sace is whining in the crate. The second worst thing you could do is comfort her. I'm not going to go up to the crate and say, "Oh, Sace, you're going to be okay." No positive attention if she is making noise in the crate. Okay? After that, those initial couple minutes have passed and she's still whining, I am going to get a blanket. I'm going to cover her completely with the blanket so she can't see out. 95% of the time, that quiets her down. So in extreme situations, she is still not being quiet. I will go get a penny shaker. I will go up to the crate. I will say, "Hush," shake, 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 hush again. If I don't have a penny shaker, I'll rap on the crate, "Hush," rap, 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 hush. It is a jarring noise that kind of breaks her out of her barking reverie. I need at least 10 seconds of calm before I let her out. Even though I know she has to go, I am still going to ask for those 10 seconds of silence. Oftentimes I will check, make sure she's silent when I'm in front of her and if I'm hiding around the corner. If she starts to make noise before that 10 seconds is up, I will come back from the corner, tell her hush, hide again, wait those 10 seconds. Okay. So I'm telling you all of this as a precautionary measure. Sace has been doing phenomenal in the crate, but we want that quietness to transfer over to you guys. Okay, that is it for crate training. House training. So out of everything that we're talking about today, house training is going to require the most effort on your part, but it's going to be about 2 weeks of a mild inconvenience for a lifetime of good house training. So for the first 24 hours that you have Sace, not counting if she is sleeping, not counting if she is in her crate, you're going to target bells with her every 30 minutes. She's not going to have to go every 30 minutes, but this is more to establish the pattern of new home, here are the bells, here's the potty spot, and it gives you an opportunity to get ahead of her bladder schedule. She is not going to have an opportunity to pee inside because you're going to beat her to it every single time. After those initial 24 hours is up, that time is going to extend to 45 minutes. After that, an hour. You're going to keep Sace at an hour for 2 or 3 days, and then you're going to slowly work your way up to 2 hours. Okay? During this time, 100% supervision is absolutely critical. I'm going to say that again. During this time, 100% supervision is absolutely critical. Sace is going to be watched like a hawk. She will earn freedom in your home. As of right now, she is stuck in the same room as you. Someone responsible has eyes on Sace at all times. This does not mean I know where the dog was 5 minutes ago, I'm sure she's fine. No, she is in your eyesight at all times. If she disappears around the corner, you go get her, you go follow her. If she has an accident and you were not there to see it, you cannot do anything. Rubbing her nose in it will teach her that you plus potty is very scary, not, oh, I made a mistake. So 100% supervision to prevent any accidents. This is also a fantastic management tool to help her manners transfer over as well. If you cannot give Sace that 100% supervision, she goes in the crate. If you don't want to go to the bathroom with the bathroom buddy, she goes in the crate. If you really need to focus on something and can't have your eyes on her, put her in the crate. Okay? She has been doing fantastic with her house training, but once again, we really want her to transfer all of that over. So if on the off chance that she has an accident, it should be right in front of you because you were watching her like a hawk. So if she starts having an accident, that is when I am the scariest and I'm a little bit frantic and I will say, no, 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 no. And I will pick her up, guide her out with the leash or just scoop her up and we will go outside. You have to go outside with her. You can't just get mad, throw her outside and clean up the mess. You can yell at someone else, go clean it up. I'm doing the more important job of going out with the dog. We say this because it is really, really important to correct her. Don't ever do that again. And then reward her for doing the right thing. So when she finishes outside, you're gonna completely change your tune and say, yes, good girl, good outside, to show her, don't ever do that here. Yes, that's where I want you to do it. Okay, targeting the bells. So targeting the bells, which I'm about to show you, is just walking over to the bells and having Sace ring them with her nose. She is a pro bell ringer. The first time you bring her home, the bells are going to be off of the door and you're gonna do this little exercise that I'm about to show you. After that, they can stay on the door. For the first 2 days, Sace gets a treat every single time she rings the bells. After that, she only earns a treat for actually pottying outside. Okay. Yes, good girl, come here. Good girl, Sace. I know, you can have that bully stick later. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna step on her leash. Okay, and I'm gonna put the bells in front of her face, and every single time she touches, okay, the bells, I'm gonna say, okay, and give her a treat. Sorry, that was me instructing. You didn't actually do anything. Okay, good girl. I'm going to do this about 5 or 6 times, and then we're going to put the bells on the door. Okay. So you notice she's very focused on my treat hand, so I'll even hide my treat hand so she can focus on the bells. Okay, good girl. Let's move over here. So I'm usually on this side of the door, but I'll be here so you can see what she's doing. Okay, outside. Okay, outside. Okay, outside. The first time I'm gonna jackpot, we're gonna get a lot of reps in. Yes, good girl, yes, outside. Good, Sace. But when you're targeting her with them every 30 minutes, you only have, yes, I understand. You're only gonna have to, okay, outside, ring them once. If you can. She may hit the bells 3 times in a row. So let's see if she's gonna wait at the doorway. No, little correction there. Good girl, okay, let's go. Outside. 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 Okay. No. All right, after we ring bells, we go to the potty spot on leash. I give Sace 3 minutes tops. When you are targeting bells and taking her out every 30 minutes, it is completely fine to do a minute, minute and a half. I do not do any longer than 3 minutes because Sace will lose focus and forget why we are outside. When she rings bells, we are not playing, we are not laying down, we are not getting pets, we are not eating pebbles or biting tree branches. The only thing that she is allowed to do when she rings the bells is go potty. Even if you want her to go outside and play after she's pottied, you have to come back in, make sure she does not ring the bells, and then you can go outside to play. Okay, that is it for her house training. Hey, that is Sace's demo. Please, please, please let us know if you have any questions, especially after you bring Sace into your home. We would much rather have us help you out than have something become a bad habit down the road. We all love Sace. Thank you for sending her to us.